What's going on, everybody? This is Frank, Classic Army USA, and today we're going to be going over the new revised Classic Army M24 LTR. The Classic Army M24 LTR still retains its top rail for you to be able to mount scopes like we have here. The BB capacity of the magazine is about 25 rounds. It shoots about 400 to 420 FPS. We took the opportunity to install a fluted outer barrel. The Classic Army M24 still retains a sling mount up front, but right behind that there's also a little bung for you to install hairstyle bipods. So a lot of the revisions that we made were internal wise. We found a few nagging issues that we had to get resolved for this new model. We fixed the issue in the magazine where if you sometimes tap them on something, it'll just let all the BBs fly out. We added a hole that allows access to the cylinder chamber just in case a BB worked its way backwards from the hop-up unit. You'd be able to kind of rattle the BB out instead of having to disassemble the entire rifle just to get that BB out. We added a pre-drilled and tapped hole to allow you to directly bolt on a VSR-10 compatible trigger box, or even like the zero triggers. Previous models, there wasn't that hole there. The holes were a little bit misaligned, so you would actually had to have drill and tap your own hole. So we went ahead and took care of that at the factory level to make life easier for you, for those of you guys that like upgrading your rifles. So the rest of this video will actually show you guys, we're going to be taking a VSR-10 clone, and that's already been installed with Action Army upgrade parts, and we're gonna basically put those parts into the M24 LTR. This is gonna be a two-part video. The second part is actually gonna show in-depth modifications that you would need to install a VSR-10 zero trigger, either through Lilacs or Action Army. So in a moment, we're gonna be tearing down the other rifle, and we're gonna be reinstalling the parts into the M24 LTR. So let's begin. Okay, so let's go over the tools that you're going to need to disassemble the M24 LTR. You're going to need a 2mm Allen driver, or you can any kind of Allen wrench. One of these multi Allen wrench deals will actually work out for you. You would need some sort of a flathead, just in case you need to pry a trigger box off or something like that. You're gonna need a Phillips head screwdriver. This is a number 2. It's also a good idea to have a number 1 Phillips head screwdriver, just in case you need to get into some of the smaller Phillips screws that are in the trigger box and stuff like that. So what we have here is an unnamed VSR-10 G-Spec clone that's already been pre-upgraded with a bunch of Action Army VSR-10 compatible upgrade parts. We're going to be tearing this gun down right now on camera, and we are going to be extracting the parts that we are going to install into the Classic Army M24 LTR. As always, we're going to make sure that the rifle is completely unloaded. Okay. And we're going to begin the disassembly process. Okay, so what we have here is the Action Army VSR-10 cylinder. Inside we'll have a spring guide, the M170 spring, and the Action Army piston, which you can actually see right here, the big orange thing. Inside the VSR-10 trigger box, we have the Action Army VSR-10 Sear Sets. Okay, so at this point we have the Classic Army M24 LTR cylinder kit take it apart, and the trigger box. So the M24 will retain its own trigger box and cylinder kit. However, we're going to go ahead and install the Action Army stuff that we have over here along with the VSR10 trigger box. Okay, make sure that you don't lose this little detent along with the spring, because that's going to be needed moving forward. Now, if you take a look at the two cocking handles, they're going to be slightly different. The stop for the over travel of the bolt is at different locations, and so are the bolt tins. So you will not be able to use VSR10 compatible bolt handles on the M24 LTR. Alright, so what we have here is the VSR10 cylinder kit along with a full suite of Action Army VSR10 upgrade parts. We have the cocking handle from the M24 LTR as well as the end cap. And we have the VSR10 trigger box along with the Action Army Sear Set for the VSR10. So let's go ahead and assemble the bolt cylinder kit and get this into the gun. What you're going to notice with some VSR10 cylinders, depending on the specs on the back of the cylinder, is you might find anywhere from a 1/2 mil to a 1 mil gap in between the bolt handle and the end cap for the bolt. It's not really causing an issue. If we installed everything as is, everything will just work fine. However, for aesthetic purposes, if you wanted to decrease the gap here, we just go ahead and pull this cap off and file away a little bit at a time the back of the cylinder kit until you get until you can get rid of that gap. Do make sure though you don't want it to be completely tight with the gap completely gone, because it's actually going to seize the bolt handle here. So you do want a little bit of a gap here. So right here you're going to see the pre-drilled and tapped hole ready for you to install any VSR10 or VSR10 compatible trigger box. Now we got the cylinder kit along with the VSR10 trigger box installed. Let's give it a function check. Okay, safety works. Let's make sure. All right, looks like everything is good. Let's go ahead and assemble this the upper assembly back into the stock and give it a final function test. Okay, so now we have our M24 LTR fully assembled again. Let's give it a little function check. Safety works. And it fires. So there you go. All we need to do is get some BBs in here, go out there, and with the 170 spring, it should be shooting about 550 to 570 FPS now. So this concludes part one of a two-part series showing the Classic Army M24 LTR, the new revised version, of course, and its ability to accept VSR10 compatible parts. We'll see you guys in part two, where we're going to be installing a M24 upgraded hop-up chamber by Action Army, along with the zero trigger and the modifications needed to get the zero triggers to fit. So this concludes part one of the two-part series that we're doing on the Classic Army M24 LTR and its upgradability with VSR10 parts. Once again, my name is Frank, Classic Army USA. Remember to stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you guys out on the field.